Good morning. First and foremost, sorry for the angle. I have very haphazardly thrown you guys onto the rear view mirror, and I don't know if it's straight or not, but that is the best I can do because I'm kind of in a time crunch. It is Monday, August the 19th. I have successfully completed the first 2 weeks of school. I did vlog, I think, during the first week. I don't know if you'll ever see that footage just because it felt very disjointed and lacking purpose. Like, it's just, I don't recall feeling like I was really sharing anything of relevance, dropping any knowledge, showing anything new. And I'm just at a point with, as far as YouTube is concerned, like, uploading a week's worth of footage is a lot of work. I know some people prefer the week-long vlogs, and I think some people have asked why I like gone to a day or a couple of days at most, and it really is, it's just easier to manage when it comes to editing. It's less overwhelming, and I'm really trying to manage my time and be more balanced. So depending on what's in there, like, maybe I'll share clips, but probably not. But just in general, I've had a successful first couple of weeks of school in the sense that I feel really good about the classes that I have. My core classes, my homeroom class and my switch class are considered my core classes. Those are the main groups of students that I work with. I have a leadership elective that is a year-long elective for me. I feel good about that class. Those kids had to apply to be in the class, so they were hand-picked to some degree by me. There's 30 of them. And then this week we start our UA classes, which stands for Universal Access. I've talked about that class period repeatedly. You guys are really in different vlogs. And it's just, it's not the kids, because I don't even know who the kids are. I just hate that period because it's just a transient class. You see them 2 times a week, possibly for only 6 to 12 weeks. You can't really do a whole lot with that class. And I just feel like it's set up for me to feel like a failure every time, which is not a good feeling. So I've been praying about it. And I've been praying that I have a better attitude and that I find a way to feel successful in that class. But it's very hard to do just based on the way it is structured. That has nothing to do with me, nothing to do with my coworkers. And so it is what it is. So I'm going to just assume that the trend of me feeling good about the students that I'm working with continues with these UA classes. But I can't complain. Like, I think the kids that I'm working with this year, they definitely seem just more, I don't know what the word is. I feel like I want to say pleasant, but if I say that, it implies that the kids last year were not pleasant, which is not necessarily true. But the kids last year kind of were a little mean-spirited towards each other and adults in general. And I'm not just saying that about the classes that I worked with, but the general 8th grade class last year. They were just, they weren't nice to each other and weren't really nice to adults. And I just spent a lot of the year feeling not appreciated by the students and a lot of their families. I had very difficult parents to some degree that weren't outwardly rude, but just questioned my professionalism, were making comments about me. Some were racially based. And so it just made for a rough year. But that's last year. So it's been good. So I just decided that today I felt like I was up to vlogging. I really just needed to get my bearings these last couple of weeks because I was feeling like I was just kind of surviving day by day. I was planned, but like, it's just hard to get into your routine at the beginning of the year. Like, whether I'm talking about my routine at home with exercising and getting ready for work and walking the dogs and getting back into that school year routine, or just the routine in the classroom, like getting the kids trained on how to do just the most basic of things, like where do you want them to turn paper in and what do they do when they come into class. And that just takes up a lot of mental energy. so that I didn't really feel like I had the time to turn the camera on. So I'm feeling like we're getting settled. I'm getting settled in my routine. The kids are getting settled on how the class works. I honestly need to work a little bit better about using my time more efficiently at work, so that I can have a balanced school year. There were a couple days in the past couple weeks where I was starting to feel like unbalanced, like work was becoming not all consuming, but just consuming more time than I wanted it to, and I wasn't getting up and getting my 5 days of exercise in, and I don't know, I just felt a little off. So I feel like I'm back on track. This weekend, I just needed the weekend to myself, and I think that helped. I was supposed to go out with my cousin and my aunties this weekend to see a comedy show, but I was feeling horrible. Like I had really bad cramps, and I was very uncomfortable. So I ended up not going to that and sent my mom instead, so she got to hang out and have a good time. And then yesterday I was supposed to go to my brother's, but we rescheduled, so I really spent the weekend just kind of on my own, which is what I needed. Some of that time I spent working because I really need to like gather myself. I had to like get my thoughts together and get a couple of things organized so that I felt more routine. So I did that, and so I think that's why I feel like I have the capacity to vlog today. So I was hoping to show you my outfit because I'm wearing one of my new dresses that I showed you guys in a previous vlog, but I didn't have time to do that this morning. And what is this lighting? But maybe later. So I'm pulling into school now, and I will share. Jeez, I will share what we're doing when I get there at some point. And again, I'm sorry that you're crooked, but it is what it is. Okay, I am in my classroom now. I am on my prep period. What is this? And I'm unpacking a Scentsy order that I ordered. One of the 6th grade teachers is friends with a woman that sells Scentsy, and I got a Scentsy for my classroom last year because I just couldn't take the stench any longer. So I just got these 4 new, I don't know what they're technically called, like the little wax blocks. My favorite scent is the aloe water and cucumber, so I have a ton of these that are burning at all times. But I'm on my prep period, and I'm gonna take this very quick opportunity to let you know what I have on the agenda for today. I have my leadership class. On Mondays, my goal is to do a character strong lesson, which is like community building, but also character development. Today we got through some of it. We'll have to continue it next week. All we really got to do was the name activity because there were some things I needed them to have for their leadership folders. And maybe I'll show you that because I don't really talk about leadership a ton. And I feel like some of you do teach leadership. Last year I gave them binders and spent a lot of time and money on making those binders. And I just wasn't into the binder. Like, I didn't need an actual binder. Like, there wasn't enough that I was giving them to necessitate a binder. The binders were beat down and tattered by the end of it, and I didn't want to invest in having to replenish the binders and the dividers every year because that becomes costly. So I just got them blue vinyl folders that look a lot like this, where they're durable because they're plastic. And so what I had them put in it was the syllabus that I gave them on the first day of school. I don't have that with me. The class expectations that goes into a little bit more detail of the different roles and things like that. And then today I gave them their Feel Good Friday note tracking list, which I just made as a Google form. Every Friday they have to turn in a note that they wrote to someone else in the class, acknowledging something that they like about them or thanking them for something that they did during the week that was helpful or even in previous weeks. They also got a copy of the evaluation form that I'll be using at the end of every trimester, so they can kind of see what categories they're being evaluated in. They get evaluated in meeting the expectations, showing positive school spirit and positive leadership qualities, work ethic, and so on. This is worth a total of 150 points. And I also gave them a calendar for the month of September. This is what I was working on over the summer, so they can kind of see what's coming up and prepare accordingly. And then also just a general class schedule, like what should happen every day of the week in general, with the exception of when we're prepping for rallies or something along those lines. So by the time we passed that out and I put them in their new committees, we only had like 20 minutes or so. So they were put in committees today. I have a tech committee, social media, public relations, student funds, student recognition, staff recognition. So they get to indicate three committees that they're interested in, and then I will work to put them in one of those committees. And I let them know I can't guarantee that everybody will be in a committee of their choosing, but for the most part, everybody did. And so that's all I got done in leadership today. Starting this week, we're really about to get into the swing of like some heavy duty lifting. We have our first rally September the 13th, which is just to welcome the 6th graders. So that was leadership. As far as my core classes in language arts today, I'm going to get started on Clap When You Land, which is a book that I read with my class last year. This was the first time, or last year was the first time that I shared it with the class. I really like the book. It is written in poem format, and it's about two girls that are Dominican. They are sisters, but they are not aware of each other at the beginning of the book, and it just kind of talks about the experiences of each of them. One is Dominican living in New York, and one is Dominican actually living in Dominican, and they share a father. So it's a very good book. It is a supplemental book, so I do let parents know at back to school night that I'm reading this book with the class. It is a supplemental book. I do provide them with the Goodreads link and let them know that if they don't want their child to read the book for whatever the reason is, to let me know, and I will come up with an alternative assignment, which essentially is just going to be another book for them to read on their own. So we're going to get into that. I'll definitely give them some background on what the Dominican Republic is like and what it means to be Dominican and all of that. And then in history, we are going to talk about the difference between race, ethnicity, and nationality. That's always one of the first things I do before we get into lessons. And so I made this little handout. I'm actually going to use a YouTube short from Blair Amani. She does these videos called Smarter in Seconds, where she kind of goes over it and defines it. And so I give them the definition in each of the boxes. At the top, it says, in our study of U.S. history, it is important that we understand that in our study of U.S. history, it is important that we understand the difference between race, ethnicity, and nationality in order to understand certain historical events and group dynamics. Review the definitions below, then categorize yourself within each definition. So they have race. I give them the definition. Race is a system that categorizes human beings based on appearance, such as skin color, hair texture, facial features, etc. It is not scientifically based and was created by man. And then they identify their race. And I'll give them a slide that shows like racial categories based on the U.S. Census Bureau. And ethnicity, it says ethnicity involves shared cultural background like traditions, language, history, religion, ancestry, etc. It is not based on physical features and was not created by man. And the nationality is based on a person's country of origin and or citizenship. So they'll identify all three of those within themselves. I will use myself as an example. And the purpose of this is just setting the stage so that when we talk about historical events, we can talk about, well, how did we even get to the place where people could justify the displacement of indigenous people? Or how did we get to the place where people were able to justify what is the word I'm looking for? Indentured servitude and then chattel slavery. I personally think it's important for kids to understand that, and also just as productive members of society, making sure that they know that race and ethnicity are not the same thing, and that one is scientific and one is based on DNA and one is not. Like, so that is probably as much as we'll get through because it's a minimum day and the class periods go by really fast. So I have about 20 minutes, not even 20 minutes, 9 minutes of my prep left. So I need to get to getting, but I will check in with you later and I'll let you know how this goes because I'm very curious to see how this goes down. It's lunchtime. Where were these born?
In the loaner room where the PE loaner clothes are. Like,
there are kittens that were just born in the PE room.
There's four of them.
Oh my God. And we don't want them to be euthanized. I don't even like cats, but look at these little things.
They're searching for their mom.
Oh my God.
And they're probably starving.
Oh, and we have no.
Look at them, that's sad.
Oh my God, they're
everything.
like really on each other. Okay, it is now about 1:50. School was out 50 minutes ago. I am checking email and getting ready to eat my lunch because I didn't get to eat lunch because I believe I got some footage, but some kittens were born in the gym, like very recently. So Taylor and I, we're not even cat people, but the sight and the sound of those sad, hungry little kittens was just a lot. So we thought we were gonna help out and maybe get some milk for the kittens because the mom was nowhere to be found. But then the school nurse said that we couldn't do that, or that we shouldn't do that. And so we're hoping that the mom returns. We called animal control. Animal control basically said we'll pick them up, but we'll euthanize them ASAP, like right away. So we don't want that. So we put them back where we found them. And someone here, I think the plan is going to drop it off at an animal shelter that's nearby that will not euthanize them. And maybe try and reach out to people to see if anyone would be interested in getting a kitten or fostering a kitten, because they are very young, like so young to the point where the nurse was saying they have to be, there was a term she was using and I just can't remember what it is, where basically they still have to be taught how to use the bathroom and do basic functions. So where's my silverware? Did I not bring silverware? I don't have a fork to eat myself. Oh, it's right here. It was right next to me. So I didn't get to eat because my lunch is only 30 minutes, and by the time I got the milk and we got all that figured out, there just wasn't enough time. And I knew it was a minimum day, but I was gonna be able to eat soon. So here I am. But as far as today went, it went smoothly. What worked really well accidentally is the conversation that we had about race, ethnicity, and nationality. That went really well. It only took a couple of minutes. I did show them this Blair Monty Smarter in Seconds video that was 1 minute and 19 seconds. I gave them a very basic description of the three, gave them time to identify. What was challenging, which I get, is I had to remind them, when you write down your race, it's not technically really what you are, it's what people are going to see you as. And in the video, she talks about like, how would someone racialize you? So I had a student, for example, he's half Mexican, half white. So he was asking me what she put down for race. And I said, well, what do you think people would think you are when they see you? Because that's the point of race, is that it's just based on people's visual perceptions. And so he's like, I don't know. And so I said, so honestly, for me, if I saw you, I would just think that you were white. I wouldn't know that you were half Mexican because you just physically appear to be white. So I thought that was really good. And I just let them know, like, we're learning this so that we can understand how people were able to justify certain things that happen in history. And it's just important to know. Like, a lot of adults don't know that race and ethnicity are not the same thing. And so I said, if nothing else, you have that. So that went really well. We did start Clap When You Land, and what worked really well is, I don't have my book because I need another one. I got a new student and he didn't have one, so I gave him mine to borrow. Is that the characters in Clap When You Land are both Dominican, and one of the girls has really dark skin and like kinky or curly hair. And so I said, this is a prime example. If you saw this character walking on the street, you might racialize her as, or you would racialize her as black because she appears to be black, but ethnically she's Dominican. And so I also went on to explain in my switch class, that's why I prefer to go by Black American as opposed to African American, because there are a lot of Black Hispanics and Latinos who are not African American. They're just racialized as black. And so I like a more general term because it supports the idea that just because you see someone with black skin, you cannot assume that they are African American. Like, don't make that assumption that every black person is in fact African American. So that's about all the time we had. I did let them know that there was going to be a little quiz tomorrow. They weren't in love with that idea, but who would be in love with the idea of a quiz? So the day went well. I need to use my prep time when we have minimum days on Monday so that we can prep whatever we need it. Or whatever we need. I need to get ready for my universal access class, the class I was talking about this morning that I do not love for a variety of reasons. So I need to plan for that after I check all my emails and eat my salad. If you're curious, it's just a mozzarella and tomato salad from Trader Joe's. So that is what I'm eating for lunch, and I have some apples to go along with it. But all in all, a good Monday. I can't complain about it. So I will talk to you guys in a little bit. Okay, it's 3:20. I don't know what time it was the last time I spoke, but some time has passed. I have been feverishly checking emails, responding to emails, generating emails. There came another email, and making sure I have everything ready for tomorrow. I haven't even gotten to the point where I'm planning for UA, which is what my intention was. That might be something that I do when I get home on my couch. Again, that's me trying to figure out what is balanced to me. Like, do I want to go home earlier in the day and do a little work from home, or do I really want to be mindful and set the goal of like not doing any work at home? And is that realistic? That's kind of like what I've been thinking about over the past couple of weeks of school. But I know that when I leave, one thing, no matter what day it is, I always want to leave knowing that I'm ready for the next day. So my slide needs to be ready. The stuff that I need to make needs to be created and drafted on Google Classroom. So tomorrow we're going to start an actual history lesson. I really want to get further in history this year than I did last year. So I'm really condensing down the first, I want to say, chapter in our textbook. The first chapter goes over all the different Native American groups, the different regions they lived in, their lifestyles, and all of that is important, but it's not a main standard, and I know it's something that they should have learned in 4th and 5th grade in the state of California. So what I found was a Khan Academy video that looks like this, that is titled Native American Societies Before Contact. So I watched it once through just to see what information was included, also to make sure that I felt like it was helpful. I felt like it was, and now I'm making a keyword note form for this. This is a strategy that I started doing a couple years ago, where you basically play a video, you separate it into 4 segments, and you show it in those segments, and you generate questions you want the kids to focus on answering within each segment. So I'm just, I wrote the questions already. So now I'm just putting in the timestamps of where I would need to pause the video as to where that information is going to be located. So the first question I'm going to ask that they'll get from the video is, what are the 2 ways that historians believe that Native Americans were able to arrive in the Americas? I need to stop the video at 1:08 because by that point that information has been shared. They get time to turn to their partner and discuss what notes they took. So they should be taking notes for this question while the video is playing, and we go over the questions before I play the video, and then before each segment. Then before segment 2 starts, I'll say, okay, the next thing you're listening for is, why was the domestication of corn or maize significant? They'll watch that portion of the video, take notes in there, turn and talk to their neighbor and share, and we'll share out as a class also. And then I just need to get the timestamps for segment 3 and 4. So I feel like I have to double check by looking in the textbook. This video will be enough for me to make sure they understand that there were Native Americans, millions of Native Americans living in North America before the European explorers arrived, and they were living quite successfully before we go into like the colonization of the area. So I am hoping that with this video and some class discussion, we could skip all of chapter 1 and jump right into, I think, chapter 2, which touches on colonization. I'm not 100% sure, but either way, I know I'm buying myself some days here. So I worked on that. I also made a quiz number 1 for Clap When You Land. I only assigned them 20 pages, which I thought was very generous. And the quiz tomorrow is 4 questions in total. Last year I gave them a quiz once a week that had quite a few questions, gave them the questions ahead of time even. And surprisingly, kids still failed. Even when I said, here's the questions a week in advance, and you can take notes, and you can use your notes in the quiz, we still have quite a few kids that said, no, I'm not gonna prepare. So now this year, I'm gonna try assigning shorter spurts of reading and quizzing every couple of days in the hopes that when they maybe see their first couple of quizzes and those less than enthusiastic readers see, oh, I'm not passing these quizzes because I'm not reading, that will then prompt them to do the reading. And I know doing that is not necessarily how you cultivate a love of reading, which I get, but I also need them to understand that even if you don't love reading, it's a part of what you're going to need to do in a language arts class and an English class when you get to high school to be successful. So I wish I didn't have to do it. I wish I just had kids that naturally loved and just wanted to read, but I don't. So I have to meet them where they're at, and that's what I'm choosing to do. So we'll see how that goes, but the quiz is 4 questions, and they're pretty general that if you read, you should be able to answer them. And I made sure to generate questions from the portion of the pages that we did not read together, because we read about 7 pages together. So I definitely am going to be here until I finish putting the timestamps on this handout for tomorrow. I'll make the copies for tomorrow, and then I will see how I feel after that, and I'll either start looking at things for UA here, or I'll go home and do it. The jury is still out on that. So you'll find out what I choose to do the next time I see you. I'll either be saying I'm packing up to go, or I'm all done. So we'll see. Well, breaking news. The start of that UA class has been pushed to next week because they are having some issues getting everybody properly rostered. So I don't need to stay here and get myself ready for tomorrow. I will go home and kind of think about what I want to do for when it starts next week, and kind of get that organized. But at least the pressure is off and I can get home at a reasonable hour. I think before I leave though, I'm going to hang some things up. I am going to hang up their race, ethnicity, and nationality cards along with their, oh, here they are, along with their annotations from the Kendrick Lamar song. Did I? No, I didn't tell you guys about that. I did do a story about it. We did use the Kendrick Lamar song last week to practice identifying theme, and I thought the lesson went quite well. It is on Instagram. I'll try and add it to my stories if you want to reference it. I think I'm gonna make a story highlight called Favorite Lessons, where I just share quick little snippets of lessons that I've done. So, yeah, I'm gonna put some things away, clean up my room, and then I'm gonna go home because I don't have UA tomorrow. I have another week to kind of get my brain wrapped around that. Okay, I'm home now. I've been home for a little while, but I actually didn't leave until probably close to 5:30. I didn't close out the vlog because I thought, let me just go home and show you guys my outfit. I used to do this all the time. I apologize for not having the time to do it anymore. But this was one of the dresses that I bought over the summer from Old Navy. And I actually put my shoes back on just for you guys so you can get the full effect. But the dress was very comfortable, and bonus, I don't think I knew this, but it does have pockets. And I wore it with this vest that I got from Amazon, and these shoes that I bought in several different colors from DSW. And that was Luna. Say hi. She's becoming such a big girl. So this is the outfit. I think I told you no UA next week or this week, so I have another week to figure out what I'm going to do. And yeah, as far as Luna's concerned, a fun fact about Luna, when I did vlog some of that footage the first week of school, what you were going to see, but it's not gonna show up now, is that Luna is doing much better with her potty training, but she had the most random moment when I was actually vlogging where she got up on a piece of furniture and commenced to peeing on that piece of furniture. And mid-vlog, all you hear is me yelling like, Luna! But you guys don't need to see that. But other than that, she's been doing pretty good. Her and Wolfie are getting along. She's done well with being at home during the day. Of course, I wish she didn't have to be alone during the day, but it is what it is. And the other news, did I tell you guys I bought a nori press? I don't know if I included that in the vlog, but I did. Which is like this, supposed to be all-in-one steamer slash iron. I got it in this green color. And if you were to ask me, I would say, don't get it. I don't care if it's one of Oprah's favorite things. I don't know why it is. Because it just doesn't work as good as it should given the price. I paid about $100 for it, but it's normally $120. And it wasn't getting clothes as straight as I wanted it to. So I looked into returning it. You can return it, but I don't love the return policy in the sense of like, you have to pay to ship it back. And it's like, it's not a guaranteed return. It isn't one of those things where if you just aren't satisfied or you aren't happy with it, that they'll take it back. It's just kind of seems like it's gonna be a pain in the butt. But I wouldn't get it. It's not worth it. So I guess I will be just using an iron and an ironing board like an old-fashioned woman. And that's fine. So with that being said, I'm gonna close the vlog. I'm getting ready to pick out my clothes for tomorrow and hope it cools down before I walk the dogs. It's currently 100 degrees outside. But if you enjoy catching up with me and hearing how my new school year is starting, give this video a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe and make sure you turn on the notification bell since I don't necessarily upload on a particular schedule. If you'd like to leave a comment, I always love when you do. I make every effort to respond to most of them. And as always, I hope that you're well. And if you're not well, please be well. And I will see you guys in the next vlog. Bye.